next fly we're going to tie, it's what I call the Medallion Dun. This is taking more selective trout on the South Platte and the spring creeks up in Montana than I can keep count of. For the tails, we have Betts tailing fibers. The body is a goose biot. The hackle or legs are CDC. The wing is medallion sheeting. And the thorax and head area is superfine dubbing. Let's give this thing a try. We're going to be using the Tiemco 101 hook. So we'll begin tying with our thread right in the thorax. Snip off our thread. Now we're ready to tie in our tailing material. So we'll grab some of Betts' stuff here, and we'll select 6 to 8 fibers. So we want 3 to 4 fibers on each side for a split tail. We'll hold it up here so it's about the length of the hook shank, and we'll just start tying it in. Making sure that it's on top of the hook shank, I continuously pull on the tailing fibers with my left hand. Come down to the bend, and I just kind of lift them up, spray them out a little bit. I'll separate them into 2 groups, and we're going to do a series of figure 8s here. Do one more on this side towards us, pull on a little bit, give it a lock wrap, then we'll take one turn right underneath everything and pull up on it. That way the tail stays parallel with the hook shank. Now we'll trim off our excess tailing fibers. Now we're ready to tie in our body material. For the body material, what I'll be using is a goose biot. Again, we'll pull it off. We'll check to see where the notch is. And then we'll moisten it before we tie it in. Tie it in tip first. Then advance our thread forward up to the thorax area. And we're going to grab our hackle pliers and then make that first wrap with our finger. And then grab it here. And we'll just start wrapping it forward. With each wrap, we want to cover up each little fuzzy rib here, just like so. And we just want to keep on doing it, so make sure we have a nice job. It's nice and even, right up to the thorax. Tie it off. And we trim off our excess here. And we make sure it's tied down nice and tight. And we'll put a little thread down here for a thread base. And we'll leave it hang right in the middle of the thorax. Now we're ready to tie in our CDC. Grab a couple feathers. What we're going to do is even up the tips. It doesn't matter how we tie it in, whether it's concave up or down for this one. And we just want to stroke all those fibers into a little bunch. Then we're going to come up here and we'll measure it so it's the length of the hook shank or just a little bit less. We'll tie it in right on top of the hook shank, just like so. And we'll trim off our excess. And again, you want to save all this CDC so you can use it at a later time. Next thing we're doing is just going to kind of fluff it up a little bit. We're going to separate it into 2 equal groups. If you can, you want one stem away from you and one stem of the feather towards you. And we'll just do a figure 8 in between here. Just like so. One more time. And now we want to wrap around the base of each feather, just to add some stability to it. Plus it gathers all the CDC fibers up. Makes it look a lot neater. Just like so. And then bring our thread right in front. Now if we wanted, all we'd have to do is add a little dubbing and dub in back and in front and around the wing, and we'd have a CDC spinner. But we're going to continue on and do a dun. For our wings, what we're going to do is use some medallion sheeting, and we're going to cut a little strip. And the width I like it to be is approximately quarter of the length of the hook shank. Cut that off, and we'll just stick that under something over here. And we'll come up here, we'll lay it right across the CDC, and we're going to do a figure 8, just like so. Just like that. What we're wanting is to gather all the material up into the nice tight area right here. Now if you have a problem doing that, let me show you an alternative here. Let me straighten it out. We're going to take it between our fingers here, just kind of take it and twist it. That way we have a nice tie-in point right here. Then we'll come over here and tie it back on our wing. Just like so. And we'll do some figure 8s. Make sure it's tied in there nice and good. One more time. And that ought to be enough. And then we'll end up with our thread right behind the wing. Now we're going to stand the wing straight up. We just kind of pinch it together so it kind of sticks together. And then we'll fold it back a little bit, and then we'll come in and trim it at an angle to the length we want, just like that. And we'll just kind of round off the tips a little bit, make it look more like the natural. Or we can twist it in the vise just like that. Now we've got our wings in there. Then we'll just push everything towards the front. Now we're ready to add some dubbing. For that, we're going to be using the superfine dubbing. Tease out a little bit. Again, we want to dub real thin. It's a lot easier to add dubbing to your thread than it is to take it off. Just get a little bit on here. If we want it to be real tight, we can add a little bit of Betts' dubbing wax on our fingers. Just go back over the dubbing. Just makes it that much tighter. It also adds to the durability and waterproofness of your flies. And we'll just start wrapping right behind the wing, covering up. We tied off the CDC and the biot. And we need a little bit more dubbing here. Making sure it's nice and thin. We can always add more to it. It's a lot easier to add dubbing than it is to take it off. Now we'll fold the wings back and pull the CDC back. And we're going to start the dubbing in the front. Just go up to the eye and we're forming a head. And then we want to kind of start wrapping back onto the wing and the CDC, because we're going to want that wing to tilt back just a little bit. Add a little more dubbing here so we can make a nice neat head. And maybe just a little bit more. That ought to do it right there. Pull everything back. Just wrap back here. There we go. And we'll just come forward here. Now we're at the eye of the hook. And now we're ready to whip finish it off. Whip finish it off. A few turns of, and we'll snip our thread. And our fly is pretty much complete. One thing I do is just make sure that all the fibers of the CDC are pulled down, just like so. And you can see it just from the top view here how much that looks like a natural. So you can imagine how the fish love this thing. And that's what I call the medallion fly, or Medallion Dun. What it does is when you cast it out, it just floats down and sits perfect on, flush on the surface. Gives a super presentation on selective trout flies. And you can tie this fly here to match P&Ds, blue-winged olives, or just about any hatch you can think of.